Saturday, June 22nd. You know what that means. It is time for the High Risk Wrestling Podcast. Check out the socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram, and of course the 215 on Twitter. I am your host. Kind of terrified of what's going down. I mean, Jacob Fatu is here. Jeremy Pierce, welcome, one and all. Last week we looked at Clash at the Castle, previewed the show, which was a solid show. Still upset about a 5-match card, but today's show, Faction Warfare Part 7. Love me some factions, but without further ado, hit my music. All right, since we're talking about factions, you know, we've got to look at the factions on this episode. And this right here, this is who would benefit from being in a faction. We'll start with number 5, the Creed Brothers and Ivy Now. Now, I know they've done well for themselves, but the Creed Brothers, remember, started out in the Diamond Mine in NXT, and Ivy Now joined them not soon here thereafter. And ever since they've been in the main roster, they've put on some banger of matches, especially the Creed Brothers, but they've kind of been lost in the shuffle. And since I know kind of where I think the story is going, you know where they should go in a faction. And that's with Chad Gable, seeing as how he lost Maxine and Tozawa and his number 1 guy Otis. He's going to replace them, and it's very simple. You go and get the Diamond Mine Initiates, the Creed Brothers and Ivy. Now, number 4, Giovanni Vinci. Now, ever since he was kicked out of Imperium, he's just been gone. Like, you know, he got his ass beat. He was destroyed. But you never know if someone can stand on their own until they stand on their own. But I think he would benefit one more time from just being in a group, getting a little bit more edge into him. Who that would be, I don't know, but maybe a stint in NXT would do him some justice. Number 3, Camille, the former NWA Women's Champion, has yet to debut in any company, even though we were thinking it's going to be AEW. We even assume she signed to AEW. But the wrestling fans on AEW are quote-unquote smart fans. They know the business. They know the wrestlers. But I think to get her acclimated, make her someone's heavy in the group. She could essentially be the China of a good faction, maybe putting her with the Learning Tree, maybe, just maybe, but I think it would do wonders for her, and she can get acclimated to the audience again, bigger crowd, and stand out where she officially joins the roster and then breaks away from the group. Number 2, Odyssey Jones. This man has been on the main roster for the better part of 2 years, just collecting a check. That's it. He's been nowhere. He has not had a single match on Monday Night Raw. He's been on the main roster for 2 years. You got to do something. We always talk about possibly adding a new member to the New Day, and remember when Odyssey Jones first debuted in NXT? I think that version of Odyssey Jones would do great in the New Day. A lot of people wouldn't accept it at first, but putting him with Kofi, putting him with Xavier would ease those tensions, ease those that weariness, because they would definitely help him get over. And number 1, Apollo Crews. Man, what happened? This guy went from putting on banger matches at WrestleMania. Remember, he defeated Big E at WrestleMania, retained the, I believe it was the United States Championship. I think it was the United States Championship. But then after that, just gone, thrown back down to NXT, where he rebuilt himself back up and then got called to the main roster and absolutely nothing. He would work well in a faction. He can kind of be like the Buddy Murphy of the equivalent of how Buddy Murphy is in the House of Black. That would do well for him, and I could see it working out for him. He just needs someone to believe in him, in a group that recruits him. Again, something like the learning tree needs to be in the WWE, where we can just bring in people who aren't being used and we can help them get over and just put them on the spot. And I think that really needs to happen with Apollo Crews, because he is too good to be wasted sitting on the main roster. We'll be right back. The spotlight is back, and it is shining on one man, a legend that we lost recently. That would be one Bray Wyatt. I was always a fan of Bray Wyatt, especially when he debuted on the main roster with the Wyatt family. He, Eric Rowan, Luke Harper were something different. They were something special, and I just think the Wyatt family never reached their full potential, and I blame that on one man. You know who I'm going to say. He who must not be named. But more importantly, they brought a special je ne sais quoi to the main roster. They won tag team titles. Bray won the WWE Championship. He won the Universal Championship. And he knew how to capture an audience. They knew what their role was, and things should have gone much, much better for them, as Bray Wyatt lost too many feuds, lost too many matches at WrestleMania, but his legacy lives on, and we're going to talk about that later in the show. But the Wyatt family were different. We don't get many factions like that, and now with the debut of the Wyatt Six, man, oh man, oh man, the legacy of Bray Wyatt lives on. Hopefully this can be done justice. Hopefully what he started can be recognized and completed to its full potential. I'm excited to see where we're going to go with this, but the Wyatt Six have a tall task, and I think with the right guiding hand, it can work. We'll be right back. So here we are once again. Faction warfare. It's a show I love. I love talking about this because factions are great. Factions make wrestling go. And what are factions? Factions are essentially a group of individuals coming together for some type of common goal, whether it's by happenstance or whether they chose to do it. And wrestling has factions going back to the early days. And the benefits of factions are simple. You get a group of people on TV who usually won't have TV time. So now, instead of trying to fit them in as individuals, you can fit them in as a group and still have them stand out on television. You can also then have your leader, your quote unquote world champion, your mid-card champion, your tag team, and when you have a woman in the group as well, your women's champion. Factions are great, and inevitably they will break up, usually because someone gets jealous, or there's usually a clear star about to break out of the group, like Evolution with Randy Orton and Batista, like the Jericho Appreciation Society with Daniel Garcia. There are reasons why groups break up, but we are here today to talk about 3 recent groups that have come together, and one that recently just debuted. But we start with the System. The System are a faction in TNA. They consist of Moose, Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, Alicia Edwards. Apparently Dirty Dango recently joined, and their associate Masha Slamovich. Now, that is a solid group of people. First of all, they're all kind of tall. Brian Myers is 6'1", Eddie Edwards is 6 foot, Moose is 6'5", Johnny Curtis, aka Dirty Dango, is 6'4", and you have Alicia who's 5 foot, and you have Masha Slamovich who's 5'3". So they came together this past January. That's when they debut, but it goes all the way back to June 15th on the June 15th episode of Impact, where Brian Myers approached Moose about an offer to team with him to take on the Impact World Tag Team Champions ABC, Ace Austin and Chris Bay. And they were involved in a Fatal 4-Way tag team match, which was won by Subculture, and Myers unsuccessfully challenged Alex Shelley for the World Championship, right? So at Emergence, Myers teamed with Moose and Bully Ray and Leo Rush to defeat Josh Alexander and Time Machine. And then at Final Resolution, Myers teamed up with Eddie Edwards to again unsuccessfully challenge for the Tag Team Championship. So the connecting thread here was Brian Myers. He went to Moose, he went to Eddie Edwards, and that's where the basis came from, right? But January of this year, on the countdown to TNA Hard to Kill, right? Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards, who had been teaming together for a minute, defeated Eric Young and Frankie Xavier on the pre-show. And they had an idea. And then all of a sudden, during a backstage interview on that Hard to Kill show, Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards, Alicia Edwards, Moose, and D'Angelo Williams, yes, the football player D'Angelo Williams, also former tag team champion D'Angelo Williams, decided to team up and call themselves the System. And they just had one goal, to get the gold. So the stable later that evening accompanied Moose in his main event match for the World Championship. He was taking on Alex Shelley, who was on a really good run as champion. And during the match, Edwards and the rest of the System attempted to distract Alex Shelley, prompting a brawl with Shelley's partners Chris Sabin and Kushida, who always had his back. Moose won. Moose became world champion again. And that was the start of the System. You would think that, in my opinion, Brian Myers would be the leader, but Moose, who is a former world champion, I believe Eddie Edwards is also a former TNA world champion, would be the leader, right? But they knew their roles. Moose was later confronted by a debuting Nick Nemeth. Then, on the No Surrender pre-show countdown and No Surrender, Myers and Eddie Edwards defeated the team of the Intergalactic Jet Setters, Kevin Knight and Kushida. So now they're tagging together. Now they're supporting each other. They've got one goal. You cannot beat the System. You just can't beat the System, right? Then comes Sacrifice in March, and Edwards and Myers defeated and won the World Tag Team Championships. They defeated ABC. So now they have the tag titles. Now they have the world titles. And Moose goes in to defend his title and successfully defends it against Eric Young. So there's the gold right there. So now it just leaves Alicia Edwards. You would think that she would go for the women's championship, but I think she didn't want that smoke from Jordan Grace. So what did she do? Wants to knock out tag team titles. And the System, who believes in each other, encouraged Masha Slamovich to team up with Alicia to challenge for the tag team titles. And at Under Siege, Alicia Edwards and Masha Slamovich defeated Spitfire to win the tag team titles, the Knockouts tag team titles. And now the System has all of the gold. And they're not stopping. And now they're joined by Johnny Curtis, aka Dirty Dango. And here we are, halfway through the year, and they are dominating. They are retaining their championships. They are winning their matches because they support each other, and it doesn't really matter. And TNA loves a good faction. And right now, there aren't that many people that can actually stop them because, as they say, you can't beat the system. As long as they stick with this, as long as no one gets jealous, then they've got a mighty road ahead of them. You know, there's always the Feast of Fire. There's always the Call Your Shots. Would that happen? Would Eddie Edwards cash in on Moose? I kind of think he would. But now they've got to deal with the aftermath of the Nemeths and the Hardys teaming up together. They got through the compound. They got through Against All Odds, and now what's next for the system? I don't know, but I'm encouraged to see where they can go. I want a dominant stable once again, and it can be the system. They are so good right now that I'm just looking forward to what they're going to do next. Then we move over to AEW, and there's a faction that just added a new member. I'm saying they're a part of the faction, but that would be the Outcast. Y'all remember the Outcast, right? So the Outcast was started by Saraya, Toni Storm, and Ruby Soho. They were the outsiders. They were the WWE quote unquote cast-offs coming to AEW. And I got early vibes reminding me of the Riot Squad. So Saraya, Toni, Ruby were good. And the one downside was Ruby would get there but not get over that hump, right? So in November of 2022, right, Toni Storm debuted and defeated Jamie Hayter at Full Gear, right? So I'm sorry, Toni Storm was defeated by Jamie Hayter at Full Gear, losing the Women's World Championship. Sorry. So then Toni takes a break. She returns in December, and she would team up with Saraya to go against Jamie and Britt Baker, and they lost. The following week, Saraya and Toni continued working together following a match between Toni and Willow. They officially turned heel. And then they dubbed themselves the Outsiders because, you know, the homegrown women of AEW didn't like them because they were outsiders. Remember the Outsiders? We should talk about them at some point. Because they had been previously employed by WWE. So Saraya and Storm said, screw it. They started wearing lime green and black attire and attacking the opponents after the matches with spray paint. So now we got Outsiders vibes. We've got NWO vibes, and I am absolutely loving it. So at Revolution in 2023, Jamie Hayter defeated Ruby Soho and Saraya to retain the Women's Championship. Ruby beat down Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker after the match and aligned themselves with the quote-unquote Outsiders. So now we have the stable. And this was the first time in a long time that Ruby Soho was a heel, and it clicked. Like, she said she felt pushed to the edges of AEW because of her fringe WWE affiliation, right? And yeah, she was in WWE. It didn't really amount much. And then on March 10th, they officially became the Outcast. So Sheeta makes her return and teased that she would join the Outcast. However, later that would be a ruse, right? And she would side with Hayter and Baker, which I never understood, because the amount of crap that Britt Baker put Jamie Hayter through, put Sheeta through, it just never made sense for me to Sheeta the team with Britt. I don't care about the enemy of my enemy. I never liked that. So at Double or Nothing, Toni Storm would go on to defeat Jamie Hayter to become, at that point, two-time AEW Women's World Champion. She then would lose it a little over 2 months later to Shida, who also became a two-time Women's World Champion. So now they've got gold. Now they're winning matches, and now they've got rivals. Shida, Britt, and Jamie had got hurt, but that's okay, right? So what's next? Well, we all thought it was leading to a blood and guts match, but Jamie had gotten hurt, so she's now removed from the equation, right? And the Outcasts are whooping ass, and people are fighting back. There was a point where I think Sky Blue and even Willow came in to side with Britt and Jamie and Shida, and I never liked anyone teaming with Britt because Britt was so bad. Britt was so evil during her reign that it just never made sense. But the Outcasts are spray painting everybody, and they are kicking ass. So Saraya defeats Britt and Tony and Shida in the 4-way match at All In to become women's champion. So now it's like, wow, okay. And remember, Shida was champion going into this, but leading up to this, Tony was starting to lose her mind, and they were getting into it, and something was changing, something was involving in Toni Storm. So they were bickering. Her and Saraya and Ruby had to be in the middle. Saraya ends up using the spray paint can on Toni Storm before pinning her to win the match. Following that victory, tensions rose even higher, and at All Out, Storm turned on the group when she stopped Ruby from spray painting Chris Statlander. And at Grand Slam, Tony failed to win the championship from Saraya, but then Saraya lost the title to Shida. So now Shida's a 3-time Women's World Champion. Right. And Ruby attempted to interfere with the spray paint can, but that was thwarted by Toni Storm. So on the December 27th episode of Dynamite, Harley Cameron joined the group. Tony was gone at this point. And then not soon thereafter, Ruby left the group, abandoning Saraya in a tag match and attacked Harley, leaving the Outcast after weeks and weeks of dissension with gaslighting from Saraya turning faces. Remember, during this period, Saraya and Cool Hand Ange were forming a love story, and it was working and it was beautiful, but Saraya was like, I'm not losing my friend, I'm not losing this, and she was just gaslighting Saraya she was gaslighting Ruby time and again, and at one point even blamed everything on Anna Jay, and it just was not good. Finally leaves. So now we're down to Saraya and we're down to Harley Cameron. But soon, Saraya introduced her brother Zach Knight as the newest signee of AEW and a member of the Outcast. He's the first male member of the Outcast to join the group. So now we're looking good. Saraya is clearly the leader, and I'm liking it. Saraya. Harley's a wild card. She's absolutely nuts, but she's getting those reps in the ring in Ring of Honor. She's getting those reps in the ring in AEW, and she looks good. She's getting there each and every time she steps foot into the ring. And you got the enforcer there in Zach Knight. And then on this most recent episode of Dynamite, during the contract signing between Mina Shirakawa and Toni Storm, Saraya, Harley come out and like, yo, we're over this. And they had already been facing Tony and Mina and Mariah. And as they attacked Anna Jay, Allied herself, who was just gone. Remember, she was recently on Ring of Honor. This was out of left field. So she aligns herself with Saraya and Harley by attacking Mina Shirakawa and helping to beat down Tony and Mariah. Man, so now the Outcast consists of Saraya, Harley Cameron, Zach Knight, and Anna Jay. And you know what? I like it. I like it. This group is funny. They're extremely funny. Just watch the backstage interviews with Saraya and Harley Cameron. And they've got some solid in-ring talent, especially with Saraya and Anna Jay. And I think Anna Jay's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to ring. Even though she's still, the newbie on the roster, I think this will work. She's someone who's been in this is Anna Jay's third faction. She was in the Dark Order. She was in the Jericho Appreciation Society, and now she's in the Outcast. I would love her to go back to the Dark Order. I missed the Dark Order. But anyway, it's a different story for a different show. This grouping now is coming for Mina Shirakawa. They're coming for Toni Storm. They're coming for Mariah May, and I am all for this. They are wild. They are the wild cards of AEW, and that's something that I very much enjoy. That is something that I very much love. What can they do? I don't know yet, but I don't think they're going anywhere, and I think they're here to stay. And now that they've infused themselves into this kind of triangle between Mina, Mariah, and Toni, they could mess everything up. But a new chapter has begun, because now adding Anna Jay changes everything. I'm with it. I am with it. We need more all women's faction. And last but not least, the Wyatt Six. Yes, under the spotlight was Bray Wyatt early in this episode. And now, this past Monday on Raw, the Wyatt Six debuted, and they made their presence known. Led by Uncle Howdy, the members consist of Rambling Rabbit, Mercy the Buzzard, Huskus the Pig, and Abby the Witch. These are characters that Bray Wyatt created from the Firefly Funhouse. These are the real life versions of those characters. So, first things first, who is under the mask of the Wyatt Six? So, Abby the Witch is Nikki Cross. Huskus the Pig, Joe Gacy. Mercy the Buzzard, Dexter Loomis. Rambling Rabbit, a man who knows a lot about the Wyatt family and an original member of the Wyatt family, Eric Rowan. And Uncle Howdy, Bo Dallas. So, what about these guys and this girl is special? They represent a piece of Bray Wyatt to tell the story of a man that was broken, but a man that wanted to build himself back together again. So at Extreme Rules 2022, I was there. That was in Philly. As Bray Wyatt made his return, he was accompanied by Uncle Howdy. And Uncle Howdy had began making numerous appearances, involving himself in segments with Bray, involving himself in Alexa Bliss, who has a strong history with Bray Wyatt. And he was here. They debuted, and Bray and Uncle Howdy laid out Hit Row. And Bray wanted Brock versus Bobby. He wanted the winner of that match. He wanted to face them at WrestleMania. But this would be Bray's final appearance, as he had passed away, sadly. He lost a legend. Uncle Howdy would make one more appearance where he confronted Lashley, and then he disappeared. So we lost Bray, and Uncle Howdy is gone. During the Bray Wyatt Becoming Immortal documentary, Bo Taylor showed the unfinished ideas that his brother had come up with. He also applied that maybe Uncle Howdy wasn't gone, he was just away. Because at the end of that documentary, we saw Uncle Howdy's silhouette standing behind Bray Wyatt's lantern. And for a little bit of time, we thought that Uncle Howdy would be forming a new version of the Wyatt family called the Wyatt SICKos, which would include real life versions of the Firefly Funhouse puppy characters that Bray had came up with. And then earlier this year, it began. The QR codes, the videos, the vignettes, the commercial breaks, the messing up of TV and the games and the glitches, and Nightbird, Marty Amato's song. And every time you click the QR code, we would get imagery. I can't talk to the imagery, mini games, and riddles with references to Uncle Howdy and his stable. This again was like how Bray was making his return with the White Rabbit. Uncle Howdy started taking over the TV. He started taking over social media and was even input into the 2K 2024 game. So, weeks and weeks of speculation of what would happen. And then this past Monday on Raw, the lights go out after Jay Wyatt's match. Jay Wyatt. Jay Uso's match. Why Jay Uso? Jay Uso brought back the Fireflies. The Fireflies were the supporters of Bray Wyatt. Go and watch Backlash in France. And Jay called himself the Eater of Worlds. It was funny. It was a little joke, but the Fireflies started supporting him. And then after his match, after Jay qualifies for Money in the Bank, the lights go out. We hear the piano key, and Nikki Cross crawls out towards Bray's lantern, and she directs the cameraman to the back. And in the gorilla position, many people are beat to holy hell, blood everywhere. And Chad Gable is the main guy who was out. So why Chad Gable? Stop saying thank you. And I don't think there's going to be a real supernatural element to the Wyatt SICKos, but they're going to scare you. So the camera follows through. Make note of Chad Gable and Eric Rowan, Dexter Lumis, Joe Gacy in their respective masks are seen standing over the carnage. And the camera keeps going, and then we see Uncle Howdy, who leads the group to the stage, who leads them to Nikki Cross before grabbing the lantern and saying, "We're here," and blows out the lantern like Bray Wyatt. And now we have the Wyatt SICKos portraying these ideals, these characters of what Bray Wyatt built. And we are just getting started. Who are they targeting? Who are they coming for? What do they want? And I like this group of people because these are very talented individuals who experienced a little bit of fame, a little bit of popularity, and then just disappeared. Bo with his Believe run in NXT and his B team run on the main roster. Dexter Lumis with his love story with Indy Hartwell. Joe Gacy with Schism. Nikki Cross not only with Sanity, but her almost a superhero, becoming women's champion. And now here she is representing Abby the Witch. So the questions remain. Why did they target Chad Gable? He stopped saying thank you. What is their ultimate goal? And yes, you have to ask this question. How does Alexa Bliss fit into this? Because she is so intrinsically tied to Bray Wyatt, she will be brought up at some point in this story. And Jay said, listen, I brought back the Fireflies. I don't want that smoke. That's all you, Uncle Howdy. You can have that. Yeet. I can't wait. I can't wait. Wrestling is fun again. And wrestling is always more fun when we have factions. That is our show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Coming up next week, we've got a Let's Talk About It, the potential new AEW deal. I'll figure out what list to throw out there for y'all next week. Oh, I know, you know what? I got a list for y'all. We got the funniest people in wrestling. And we got the Let's Talk About It on Thursday. We'll figure a couple other things out. And of course, we've got the Forbidden Door preview, which is going to be good. Check out the socials. Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube. Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram. And of course, the 215 on Twitter. And as always, Anna J, Gigi Dolan, Hill Up Baby, Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander, Isla Dawn, and Bailey. Holla at your boy. Peace.